Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg, episode 288. We are playing some XCOM 2. Went over to my parents' house the other day, and a while back I had bought my dad XCOM 2 because I thought he would like it. He likes Civilization a lot. He used to like Age of Empires a lot, but in his older age, he prefers like slower turn-based games. So I thought he might like XCOM 2 because it's one of my favorite games. But he had yet to get around to trying it out, so I sat down and I walked him through the tutorial, the first little tutorial thing, and obviously it's a lot to take in for someone his age. But yeah, it re-sparked the interest for me to play it some more. So I've been playing it quite a bit since then. Um, I there's a mod for XCOM 2 called RPG Overhaul, which I have never really gotten to work before properly. I don't know. I've always had issues with it, but this time it actually worked out. And I can't imagine going back to playing this game without it. Because it really just it really expands the options available to you. I don't have a rookie going in. I don't have a rookie going into squatty, so I can't show you all the options. But basically, for one, every squatty or every rookie has like three. I guess it's a squatty. Yeah, every squatty has like three innate traits based on like their background and stuff, and this is normally automatically picked for you. You can at the start of the game pick an option that lets you pick all of these little origins if you really like customizing your characters to like a specific degree, but usually you just let it auto pick. And so like this, my gunner has bulletproof, gets plus 10 defense. What else? What else was it? Renegade, plus 50% critical chance, 50% damage reduction, bonuses when fighting healthier foes, and blast padding, bonus point of armor, 50% less damage from explosives. And so, like, those, based on their origins and their background abilities, that can sort of dictate how you build the character. So, like, this one had Cutthroat. Melee attacks against biological enemies, ignore armor, plus 15 crit chance, plus 2 crit damage. And I was like, okay, that's really good for melee. We'll make this character sort of a melee build. So that's cool. But the real cool thing is the sort of class options. So when you go to Squatty, you get to pick 3 specializations. And these are basically 3 different classes that you combine together to form their overall build. So, like, for this melee character, I picked Recon, which is a specialization mostly involved with being, like, up front, hidden, and scouting out enemies, fast moving, stuff like that. But then we've got Ranger, of course, which is all about melee stuff. This is sort of a traditional one. Basic stuff like Blade Master and Blade Storm, which is just really good to have if you're having any melee class. And then also I got Abyss Knight, which is very different than normal. And this has all sorts of like health draining abilities that enhance damage. So you consume 3 of your own health to slash an enemy with a cursed blade, dealing severe damage. This does like double damage, so it's very much worth it. But then you also get Night Sword, which is a melee attack that you can use to absorb health. And then, you know, it goes on and on. You get some crazy stuff, Harvest Scythe, and but then you have, like, what else do we got here? This is my medic character. So you have, so Pharmacist involves using the stim gun. So it's a pistol that shoots, like, health restoring bullets at allies. So Pharmacist helps out a lot with that. But then Dealer also uses the stim gun, but in a negative way. So it causes poison and stuff like that. So those combine well. And then I also grabbed support Bulletmeister, just because I wanted to do some gun things with this character as well. So you have, like, Toxic Bullet. It's a special bullet you fire, inflicts poison damage, and applies a toxin that attracts the Lost. So stuff like that. There's so many specializations you can pick. Some of them are pretty traditional and sort of normal that you might throw in. And then some are very wild. So this is my sort of necromancer character that has death disciples. So you can raise a zombie, and you raise a dead enemy as a zombie, and it counts as one of your soldiers, but it's completely expendable. If it dies, there's no penalty. And then you get Undead Link to enhance that zombie, so it has like 24 health or some shit, and you just throw it into the enemy mix, and it can explode if you want. It's cool. Gravekeeper, so this is all stuff related to the Lost. So you can, like, put this blood curse on somebody that attracts Lost to them. You can zombify a living person so that they're vulnerable to Lost effects. Stuns the dead in a massive radius. And then I threw in Codebreaker because I think he had a high starting hack score or something like that. So it's like, okay, he can hack if I need him to hack. Just so many different specializations. You can have just insane different characters and stuff. This guy is like a flamethrower dude with a gauntlet, but then he also is a bomber, so you can blow up walls and things like that. You can get stuff where it doesn't hurt allies. There's just, there's so much. It's so freaking cool, man. If you've played XCOM 2 in the past, get in on RPG Overhaul. Just find, like, I mean, XCOM 2 modding is really easy for, like, a layman, because you could just find a collection. There's a bunch of collections out there on the workshop that have, like, you know, groups of mods. And you just click subscribe all. And it adds all the mods to your game. I recommend getting an alternate launcher. You can Google the alternate launcher if you're going to have, like, more than 100. And then it's really nice because you can just find, like, what I usually do is I'll find, like, a specific mod that I really like or really want, and then it'll show you all the collections that include that mod. And so you basically find, like, like-minded individuals. They're like, oh, they like this mod, then their collection is probably pretty legit. And that's usually what I do, and it works out for me most of the time. Anyways, enough about XCOM 2. It's just crazy. This has got to be, like, one of my most played games ever. I don't know. It's just something about it. I mean, it's going to be real hard for XCOM 3 to live up to XCOM 2 for me. But we'll see. We shall see. Anyways, moving on. This week on this channel, we had Doom Eternal, of course. Highly entertaining. It's highly entertaining for me. I hope it's highly entertaining for all of you that are watching it. And we also have Metroid Prime 2, the last video of which went up last night. So, very shortly we'll begin XCOM. No, fucking XCOM. Metroid Prime 3. Which is a better game than Metroid Prime 2, by far, in my opinion. And also a shorter Let's Play than Metroid Prime 2. So that'll be that, and then after that is, of course, Other M, which is not a long Let's Play either. And then we'll be pretty much done with Metroid. As for Doom Eternal, I mean, I'm not done with the game. I'm sort of recording it as we go. So I don't know how long it'll be. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be the next big Let's Play. That comes out in a little under 2 weeks. So, yeah, it'll be... Yeah, we'll probably be right around there. Well, it'll be close, I'm pretty sure. Ba, 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 ba. That's pretty much it for this channel. We didn't do a Two Brothers play last weekend. We were supposed to do one this weekend. We'll see. Obviously, things are pretty crazy right now in the world. It's, well, let's be honest. It's not exactly a high priority, but we'll try to make it work. I think the next one we wanted to do was just Mega Man 3 or Mega Man X3. Just a single player game. We pass off the controller on each death and we just work our way through, because we're both big fans of like Mega Man X, and he's played Mega Man X2 a bunch. But I don't think either of us have really played X3, so we figured out, what the hell, let's give it a try. Something that's sort of new to both of us. He wants to start up. He and his wife had their own YouTube channel a while back. That was mostly like Pokemon card openings or something with opening Pokemon stuff. I didn't really watch it. But they sort of it ended pretty much because it's just sort of grew too expensive for them to spend all that money every video just to get not that many views. I mean, they were actually doing all right. I was kind of impressed, but yeah, it was expensive, so it ran its course. But they want to pick. He wants to pick it up again. She wants to pick it up again. Not doing any Pokemon stuff. Not doing anything that costs money. Just partly for fun and partly for the views. They want to get the views. And I have a cousin who is trying to get in on the YouTube thing. He wants to make it a career, of course. I think he's doing like children's animations or something like that, which sounds like the most at this point in time. I don't know. YouTube is not kind to animators, and recently, with the whole Kappa thing or whatever, like, they're not kind to any kids channels, so Not the direction I would go in, but it is what it is. It's just sort of like, I mean, obviously, I have inspired plenty of people in our family. Like, my sister really tried to do the Instagram thing, and she wanted to be a big Instagram influencer with, like, home decorating and stuff. But again, it was, like, too expensive. And, you know, they all see, like, oh man, he look at how well he's doing on YouTube. He's got such a perfect job, and it's just so great. And I want to do that, and it's fine that I inspire people because I do have a great job, and it is amazing. But I mean, you're almost better off buying like scratch off lottery tickets and then just, you know, at least you immediately realize that you failed without all the heartbreak and effort lost and stuff. I mean, obviously it's possible. It is possible, sure, for anyone to be a success on the internet. The odds of it, though, are so slim. So much has to go right. So much has to go right. And it's not even just like, it's not even just a matter of views. Because plenty of channels can get views, but they're not necessarily making that much money off of it. A lot of that depends, again, on the type of content you're putting out. Like I said, animation. Like, YouTube's not that kind to it as far as monetization and ad revenue and things like that, or anything with politics, or anything with, recent events, or anything with history, or anything with, like, firearms. There's so many things that YouTube's like, nah, no money for you. And then you have to dodge, like, copyright issues, and anything with music, or anything with film clips, or anything even with video game clips. There's so many things that have to go right for it to be a really viable career. And I cannot stress enough how fortunate I am that I have fallen ass backwards into this career. And I say that to all these people in my family. I'm like, you have no idea how lucky I am. Because that's what I mostly attribute it to. I mean, obviously, yes, I recognize that mentally I am capable of sustaining this, you know, as far as, like, creating the videos. Obviously, I have some talent for something. I don't know what it is, but clearly there's something there. But most of it is just luck. I mean, look at it. I would have never picked to do SCP. Ever. And the only reason that I am doing SCP is because I did those viewer polls. And that's what happened to win that one time. And it's interesting because stuff that came close to winning in the past has later, like, fallen off the poll. Like, no one cared. So it's possible that if SCP didn't win that time, it might not have ever come close. And then I would have missed. I'd be doing, like, Egyptian mythology right now, you know, for 30,000 views, if that. So it's just, yeah, so much has to go right. It's obscene. So I don't want to discourage people. I mean, not at all. Not at all. But if you're not doing it because you really, really just enjoy it, then don't start. And I like this channel that I'm doing right now. This is just the perfect example. Because I say, if I was a billionaire, I would not be making exploring videos. I wouldn't. There's too much work involved. It just wouldn't really be worth it. Obviously, I like doing it, but not not to that level. I'd rather be, hanging out in Cancun or whatever. Um, it's an amazing job, absolutely, but it is still a job. But if I was a billionaire, I would still be putting out Let's Play videos every day. So you can quote me on that. Anyway, speaking of exploring videos, this week I released SCP-5005, I believe, Lamplight, which I thought was a very nice little pleasant little SCP, and it did all right. I can't complain, of course. CPM numbers are definitely trending downwards. Advertisers are not quite bullish about throwing money at YouTube right now, which, to be honest, is as expected. Nothing too shocking there. And I worked on another 5,000 contest entry. Probably, I think it might be my favorite one, at least of the ones I've done, and of the ones I've read. 5002, which is a death in containment. And it's basically just an SCP murder mystery. And it's like, the SCP itself really doesn't matter. It's almost a tale about just an SCP murder mystery. But I really like murder mysteries, and I really like how this one was done. So, thumbs up. Uh-huh. A lot of stuff. Stasis vent, booster jets, sure. Alright. So yeah, I really like the SCP. I like the video I put together, which is not that common. I don't know if other people will like it as much. Because, like I said, it's not really an SCP, and it's not like... There does seem to be some plot holes in the murder mystery, and I think people will point that out pretty quickly. But still, overall, I found it really enjoyable, and that's all I care about. And I would work on a D&D video for this week, but I have this April 1st video I gotta put out. So I'm working on that instead, so that I can release it and disappoint many people. That's what's gonna happen. C'est la vie. And then next week, I believe I'm working on a video on anomalous diseases. I think that's gonna win this time. And that should just be a barrel of fun. Yeah. That's that. Thank you for reminding me, phone. I wanted to talk about that. So, Half-Life Alyx got released this week on the 23rd. And of course, I got it for free because I own an Index. But I would have bought it either way. This is obviously a very important title in the timeline of VR. Valve themselves putting out a big mainstream AAA VR title. And it is incredible. No doubt about it. It is certainly the most impressive VR game that I have played, and I think probably many people, but it could be the most impressive VR title ever. But I haven't played every game, so I can't really say that. But for me personally, it was pretty insane. The level of control and fidelity, the sound, the graphics, the animations, like it all comes together to be, I mean, it's a buzzword, but immersive is really the case here. You get into it. The little gimmicks that they have incorporated as far as like your inventory and like grabbing items from a distance, if you know, it's just many other companies are going to be copying the stuff that's going on in Half-Life Alyx. It's really good. Really good. But, unfortunately, it is not, in my opinion, the killer app for VR that really VR needs. It is just not. And I think if there is a killer app at this point, it is Beat Saber. But the reason that Half-Life Alyx is not a killer app is because it's a horror game. And people will argue and say, oh, it's not a horror game. It's like an action game with horror elements. And it's like, no. That shit is a horror game. And I don't think that I'll ever beat it. Because it is a horror game. This is primarily due to head crabs. And I understand head crabs are an important part of the Half-Life mythos. I mean, obviously, every game there's head crabs, and you kill them and you move on. And even in the 2D normal Half-Life games, head crabs freak me out. Because obviously they're arachnid-esque. And they pounce on you. They literally jump on your head and turn you into a zombie. I mean, this is terrifying shit. And then Half-Life 2 with Ravenholm and the poisonous head crabs that make those sounds. And holy shit. Usually I think I just level skip past Ravenholm if I play Half-Life 2. Obviously, this is not a problem for everyone. But arachnophobia is a fairly common thing. And you can get through the Half-Life game. I can get through the Half-Life games. I have played through Ravenholm successfully. You know, it's not like undoable. But in VR, dude. And I knew there would be head crabs. I knew there would be, and I was trying to sort of gird myself to prepare that, okay, there's going to be some head crabs. They're going to try and jump on me. Hopefully I have a shotgun, and you blast them apart in midair. And I've done that, and it is satisfying. But I did not expect there to be so many head crabs, and for it to be so dark. And so the first real, like, okay, this is too much moment came a few hours in. You're, like, underground. You're in, like, the quarantine zone in, like, some sewers or some shit. And you're coming across, obviously, head crabs by themselves. and zombie head crabs. Or, I mean, zombies with head crabs on top of them, on their heads. And if you kill the zombie, like you just shoot him in the chest a bunch of times, he will go down, he'll die, but the head crab is still alive, and then it will start jumping towards you. You know, it'll pounce on you. And so you try, of course, to just shoot him in the head and kill both with one stone, but that's easier said than done, especially in the dark and when you're scared out of your mind. So I came to a point, after a whole bunch of fucking head crabs and zombie head crabs, and I shot this thing with a shotgun. But I shot him in the chest, of course. And he went down into basically like this pit. This dark pit that I had to go down as well. And I knew that I had not killed the head crab because I had seen it like jump a little bit. And so I had seen it jump, and I knew it was down in this dark pit where you can't see. And I was just like, and the thing is, it's not just it's like a survival horror game. Ammo is limited. If I had unlimited ammo, I would have just filled that entire pit with shotgun shells. You know, just every single inch of it until I was sure that this head crab was dead. But A, I didn't have enough ammo to do that, and 2, I knew I was going to have to go down in that pit to actually see that head crab and kill it. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I had to wait till my brother came over. He went down. He had yet to play Half-Life Alyx, so this was his first experience with it. But he did it. And he's not really, like, super... You know, he can't just flinch all this stuff off either. He doesn't like horror games that much either. But he did it. He went down there, and he killed the head crab. And I was happy. I was like, okay, I can continue. It's got to be... We got to be eventually getting out of this sewer. But immediately in that pit, I mean, this is sort of a light spoiler, I guess, but meh. It's not a game that's going to be played by that many people. In that pit, at the far end of it, there was a corpse with a flashlight on it, and you are meant to go and grab the flashlight, because everything's dark now. You need a flashlight. And so, of course, I inched closer to the corpse, and I was checking every corner. I was sure there was going to be more head crabs, but eventually I get up to the flashlight, and, I mean, come on. You know, as soon as you grab that flashlight, you're going to need that flashlight. Something's going to come out of the dark, and you better have the light ready. And sure enough, as soon as I grab the flashlight and whip around, 3, like, poisonous head crabs come out of the corners and start pouncing towards me. And this, oh my god. Because I did not kill all of them immediately. So I got pounced on, and it was just... I mean, that shit's traumatic, man. If you've got arachnophobia, fuck. I killed them, and I continued on somehow. And from that point, you're still in the sewers for a little while. And now you need the flashlight. And it was just, like, so stressful. I don't know if I've ever been that stressed. Because it's, like, pitch black. If you're not shining the flashlight, it's pitch black. With poisonous head crabs and zombies making sounds and shit. It's a horror game. I don't care what anyone else says. It is a fucking horror game. Finally, though, you come out of the sewers, and it is daytime, and you're out in daylight, and there's still zombies, and there's a few head crabs, which still sort of freak me out, but it's like, oh my god, daylight, yes. It's like the start of Resident Evil 5 or something. It's like, things aren't that scary, you know, in the daylight. We can live with this. But then they immediately throw you into, like, a deeper, darker hole, and it's like, fuck me, man, this is insane. And so that's where I stopped playing. That was like a couple days ago, and it's like I don't know if I can bring myself to continue. Because from based on comment, I was reading people's comments, you know, and discussing on whether it was a horror game, and they're like, yeah, it just gets scarier as you keep playing. It's like, oh my, I can't. They're like describing like poisonous head crabs, just like a dozen of them, just like coming out of vents and stuff. They pop out of toilets and hold like it's like head crab after head crab. It's like insane. And like the only footage that I saw of this game before it came out, I don't really look at footage. But the only footage I saw was of just like you fighting a bunch of combine soldiers in like this crazy shootout, and you're hiding behind a car and using the door as cover. It's like, oh wow, this is gonna be awesome! Just like shooting all these I have yet to shoot a single combine soldier. Like 5 hours in, it's just zombies, head crabs, and those like I don't even know, the grabbers, or I don't know what they call them in Half-Life. The things with the tongues that hang down and they grab you with the tongue. That's it. That's all it has been. And I know there are combine soldiers in the game that you eventually fight, but yeah, I don't know. If there's ever a mod that comes out that makes everything bright, like makes all the sewers bright, and replaces the head crabs with like bunnies, because I'll kill a bunny. All right, if it was a cat, no, I wouldn't shoot a cat. But a bunny, if it like explodes in confetti or something, okay, I'll play it then. But otherwise, I think I'll stick to maybe a level skip, and I'll just play the combine levels where you shoot people. I'll shoot as many people as you want. But so it's an incredible game. Like for what they set out to do, obviously they nailed it. It's amazing. It makes me very excited about the future of VR. Because if they ever do like a VR Portal game and they do it this well, that would be insane. But as it is, if you like horror games, you'll probably love it. You will love it. If you don't like horror games, but you're fine with like spiders and stuff, you'll probably still like it, because it is a lot of action and shooting. It just sort of depends on how much you dislike horror games. If you have any sort of arachnophobia, it's going to be fucking tough as hell, and I commend you if you can make it through it. So that's why I don't think it's a killer app. I think it's amazing, but that's where it is. So, yeah. And I'm not like disappointed or busted up that I can't really play through it. I played enough of it that I can appreciate it, and I had some fun with some parts, but
agreed.
Yeah, I think the future of VR is looking kind of cool based on what I've seen. Because I sort of thought like, oh, the problem with VR is like you're standing and you're moving around, and how much you really want to play games like that. But it's like, you don't even think about it when you're really into it. You don't even think about the fact that like, oh, this is like I'm standing and I have to move around. Like, no, you want to stand and move around, because that gets you involved. Feel immersed. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about something that isn't scary or standing up at all. And that is board games. Apparently, my dad called me and he's like, "Oh, you saw this thing where sales of board games are through the roof right now because everyone's in quarantine and looking for board games." And so we're trying to sell off a bunch of my old board games, not old, but ones that I don't really care for on eBay and stuff, because now's the time, I guess. Which is cool. I mean, board gaming, as much as I deride it sometimes, it is a good hobby, and I think everyone should at least try and give modern board games a try. So we've been playing some more Pandemic Legacy. Yesterday we did April, 4 months in, 4 games in, and we failed the first time. So big things happen in April. It's a game-changing sort of month, but we just got hammered so hard at the start that it was not looking good from the start. But yeah, I mean it's been pretty cool just to see how this game is developing. So we'll probably keep playing that. My mom and I, when we get together, we've been playing this game that I picked up called Chronicles of Crime. I don't know if I talked about this at all already, but um, Chronicles of Crime is a investigative board game. It's board game almost in the loosest sense. It's heavily app driven, which normally I'm like, I mean, it's okay. It's sort of weird, but Chronicles of Crime, it's really good. It's really good. I picked it up because Tom Vassell said that he has no interest in playing Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective anymore now that Chronicles of Crime exists. And I was like, holy shit, that's a crazy thing to say. Because Consulting Detective is a really cool game. Difficult as all hell, but really cool. Difficult in the sense of like beating Sherlock, which I guess is not really the goal. So it's not really. It's just fun, I guess. So I was like, I gotta look into this Chronicles of Crime. And so at first I sort of brushed it off because it sounded like it involved VR. There was like optional VR goggles you could buy to put over your phone, and I was like, I don't want to be like standing around and looking at like how much, I just want to play a board game. You do not need the goggles. Let me assure you of this. The game is completely fun without any goggles. You do need the phone because the phone sort of drives everything. But it's a really interesting setup that allows for a lot of freedom on the developer's part to come up with new cases and stuff. Because what the game is, it's basically just like a board, which you really don't even need. You don't even need the board. But it's a bunch of cards of different sizes with some, like, there's a lot of people cards that don't have any text on them. They're just pictures of people's faces. And then there's a bunch of cards that have, like, clues written on them, like clue types, like food or paper or boxes or computer or phone. All sorts of, like, just generic items. And then there's, like, a few location cards that are bigger, and every card has a QR code on it. And so the app basically just has most of the text as far as the case is concerned. And so it'll tell you the setup of everything and tell you, like, this person, number 39, and you take the number 39 person card and you put that at location J, which might be Kensington or something, and it'll tell you who they are and what they do there and blah, blah, blah. And it'll say the victim, number 27, and you take the card 27 and you put it there, and then so you scan location J, and that takes you, as far as the app is concerned, to location J, and so now you're at J. And then you can scan, like, a witness card, and then you'll start conversing with the witness. And while talking to someone, you can scan other people's cards to ask them about that person, or you can scan clue cards to ask them about certain clues or items. So it's all done through scanning QR codes, which thankfully is a very quick process. It doesn't take that long to scan QR codes. So things move along pretty quickly. And This allows them to reuse the same like person as a prime minister or the victim or a housewife, or they could be anything because the card is just a picture of a person, and the QR code can correspond to anything um, based on what the app is doing, based on what the case is, and the things can change. So like you might ask a person about a shovel, and they're like, I don't know anything about a fucking shovel. But then later you find out, oh, the shovel has their fingerprints on it. So then you go back to the same person, you scan the same shovel card, but now it's like, oh, well, you found my fingerprints. Fuck you. It can obviously change throughout the game. And this can occur with people as you find out different information, blah, blah, blah. When you go to a crime scene, though, that's when the VR aspect comes in. So you go to a crime scene, it'll say, search for clues. And this puts you into the sort of a panoramic 360-degree view of the crime scene. And you'll see all sorts of different little details that pop out. Like you'll see a gun on the floor, or a computer, or cameras, or the body, or blood, or whatever. And so you'll call all these little details out to another person, and they'll be rifling through the item deck trying to grab all these little items. There's no time limit, and you can do this as many times as you want, I guess. But they'll grab all the clues from the deck, and then you can scan all those to get more info and blah, blah, blah. So this is where you would use these goggles if you were so inclined, because you'd strap the phone to your head, and then you'd literally look around the crime scene. But you don't need it. You can just look at your phone, and you can turn yourself 360 degrees to, turn and look at all these different details. But you can also just swipe your finger, and it'll rotate the camera. And that's just what I do, because I want to just sit there. But it all comes together, and it's really just like... It's simple, and it just is just you solving a case. No fuss, no muss. And, sometimes with consulting detective, you cheat a little bit. Like, you'd scan another paragraph next to the one you read, just to like, oh, maybe I missed, what does this say? You do all sorts of little bullshit. But with the app, it's all just like legitimate, and it's not that difficult. That's like, as far as like having a good score, we have not really cheated like at all, and we've had good scores of like 90 or 100 out of 100 every time, and it's really just fun. It's a great game. If you like investigative stuff at all, I definitely recommend it. Chronicles of Crime. That was Mangg's board game reviews. So that's been fun. And the base game is all about like London detectives, modern London detectives, which is a very specific theme. But they have some expansions which add new cards and stuff, and one is noir, which is all like noir and detectives and stuff, and that appeals to me a lot. I really want to get into that. So that's really cool.
Copy that.
Damn it.
On my way.
What else? Oh yeah. So the other game, it was like 2 days ago, I think. My mom came over. We had dinner. We played Chronicles of Crime. And then we were debating doing another case of Chronicles of Crime, or sort of instead savoring it and, just doing one at a time to not rush through it. And so it's like, okay, let me go look, see if I have any two-player games we could play. And so I found on my shelf here that I had brought along to my new house. A two-player game, a specifically two-player game that I had kickstarted and never once played. And that was Pixel Tactics by Level 99 Games.
Target eliminated.
The Pixel Tactics has a sort of a video game-esque aesthetic. Obviously, it's pixel graphics. All the characters are pixelated. But really, it's a fairly simple yet surprisingly deep, I guess, two-player card game. You get a deck of cards, and all of the cards contain a character. They're all just characters with different abilities. And when you play one of these characters onto this 9x9 grid that you have, depending on which row you place it in, the front row, the middle row, the back row, the character's ability changes. They each have an ability for the front row, the middle row, the back row. And so a big part of the strategy, so basically, you have a hand of like 5 cards, and each one has 3 different abilities, and each card can be played as sort of like an event one time, instead of placing it as an actual character. So you have 4 options, pretty much for every character in your hand, and your deck has 30 cards in it or whatever. That's an astounding amount of options. And the rules themselves are not that complicated to understand, but there's enough rules that allows for a lot of variation between each given character, with their health numbers, their attack numbers, and between melee abilities, spell abilities, ranged abilities, healing abilities. There's trap cards. There's enough there. We only played one game, but I thought it was really cool. Really cool. And she really liked it as well. She was like, oh, this could replace Netrunner. And I'm like, whoa. Let's not say anything we're going to regret. Netrunner is one of the greatest games of all time. But I was surprised at how much I liked it, considering I had never played it. And it's not a game that's super talked about. It doesn't have that same longevity, or I guess depth, as, say, Netrunner. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it again. So that's pretty cool.
Kill confirmed. Confirmed. I think this might be toxic. Better close your eyes.
But enough about board games. Let's talk about roll manging. Which we finally had a roll manging. That fucking AI, Jesus. It was not like it wasn't a session, and it wasn't in person, but it was roll manging. We did character creation for Stars Without Number.
Roger that.
Ow.
Feels so good.
And this Stars Without Number campaign is, of course, in the 40K universe. So we're calling it Heresies Without Number.
I strike for my people.
And the first part of figuring out what we wanted to do here for the 40K campaign, because Ziggy did not go into character creation with an idea in mind.
Come get some.
It was sort of a brainstorming session,
Come get some.
and
Is allocation.
I'm certainly the most knowledgeable of our group when it comes to 40K. So I was telling them about our different options. You know, we could play as Space Marines. We could play as Space Marine Scouts, which is a little bit more manageable, and it allows us to be sort of on our own a bit more. We could play members of the Inquisition, which would also allow us to be on our own. I mean, that's an important part, especially playing in Stars Without Number, which is sort of focused around like planet hopping and stuff. You really don't want to just play as like rank and file Imperial Guardsmen. You can play as like an Imperial Guardsman, like troop or whatever, but only if you're caught behind enemy lines or you're abandoned somewhere. You know, through some sort of problem, you are on your own. But you're probably on your own in like a fucking, you know, on like some battlefield or some war-torn planet overrun with orcs or, you know, something like that. So it's tricky if you're going to do something like that. Really, I think the best bet for Stars Without Number specifically was us being rogue traders.
Very well. Restoring manual control.
Roger that. Cover your eyes.
So rogue traders, well, not us being rogue traders, but us being part of a rogue traders, what do they call that?
Roger that.
Not regiment, something with an R. Retinue. There we go. Part of a rogue trader's retinue.
Scanning.
So we'd basically be working for a single rogue trader who is an individual that has been given a warrant of trade by the Imperium, or in some cases by the Emperor himself from long ago.
On Overwatch.
And they
Stepping off.
have a lot of autonomy. They have a lot of degree of autonomy within the Imperium. So they can go wherever they want, pretty much, and they can. Oh Jesus! They're allowed to sort of interact with aliens without being like just executed for heresy or anything like that. All pretty much for the specific purpose of combing the stars and looking for artifacts or looking for STCs, you know, for the glory of the Imperium. That's the basic idea.
Engage.
Avid troops spotted.
All right, here we go. And so they employ a lot of eclectic individuals that, for whatever reason, are willing to go out into deep space and work for a rogue trader in search of artifacts and deal with aliens and dangerous situations and blah, blah, blah. And Dang it. Alright. And me without my fucking hacker. Oh my god, this berserker. So this setup allows you to have, in the same group, basically, an Imperial Guardsman and a member of the Inquisition and a member of the Ministorum and a priest and a tech priest, and if you want to go really far, you could have an orc in there and an Eldar, because they're all working for the same goal of just finding artifacts, and they all just work for this one rogue trader, and they get along because they have to. That, going to that degree, for me, is, well, heretical. But it's possible, That is for some groups, that is an acceptable understanding. Poisoned, acid, and on fire. I think he's fucked. Okay. He's gonna blow up, isn't he? He blew up big. But yeah, the point is that it allows you a lot of, well, for one, it allows the DM to have a lot of control over where the campaign goes. Because the players are not in control of the ship. They are not in control of what planets they hop to. The rogue trader, the DM, is in control of that. And two, specifically for Stars Without Number, it allows you to go to a lot of different planets. It allows the DM to come up with a lot of different unique situations, whatever he really wants to come up with. Because the rogue, they're going to different planets, because the rogue trader says so, because he's heard there's artifacts there, treasure there, or for whatever reason he comes up with, DM wants. So it allows the DM a lot of control where, especially for us, in our last Stars Without Number, the campaign got a little out of control because we were given full reign over a ship and where we went and what we did. And so the scope of it really just blew up. Whereas this, especially with 40k in mind, with me playing and Ziggy DMing, who doesn't have as much knowledge, it allows him to carefully sort of craft the specific situations we might get into.
Feel the power of the Templars!
So, Ziggy agreed with my assessment, and so that's what we decided to do.
Warning. Threat level is high.
So we all set about making our characters. Now, we're using Stars Without Number, and that allows us to I mean, we're using the basic framework of Stars Without Number for like classes and stuff. So we're still using warriors, experts, psychics, and adventurers. That doesn't change. We did alter up, not really, but like backgrounds. We're using mechanically basically the same backgrounds. That didn't change much at all. But thematically, obviously, instead of we're renaming backgrounds. So my background is basically what my rank or whatever. So I decided to be an inquisitorial acolyte. So I'm like an inquisitor in training, basically. Damn it. And so I just took a random background of like, I think it was like thug or something, because a lot of the skills just seem to fit. And so it was like, okay, I think I changed like one thing. I changed their like free skill to talk instead of a combat skill. And so a lot of things are just shifting thematically. It's not that difficult. But otherwise, it was a pretty simple conversion since we're doing Stars Without Number. If we were playing as Space Marines instead, that would be trickier. I said if we were playing with Space Marines, we'd have to bring in like some stuff from Godbound, you know, like with the Frey dice and stuff. Because a Space Marine and like a normal human, that's not a competition. That's not, you don't even, you just backhand them and it's done. So you'd have to alter some things. But with Rogue Trader group, it's really pretty simple. So, let's see. I am as I said, part of the Inquisition in training. So I don't really have much authority of my own at all, but I can name drop my my master inquisitor. Like, hey, I work for this guy. You ever heard of him? Chances are they haven't heard of him, but it's like, okay, clearly, this person can handle themselves. They say they work for an inquisitor. Maybe we shouldn't fuck around with them. That's basically what I might go for. I'm trying to be more of a conversationalist because I usually end up doing that anyways than somebody that shoots a bunch. So it worked out as far as character creation that my shooting skills are not up to par. So instead I'm rolling with a chainsword. Which I don't know how lore accurate it is for a inquisitorial acolyte to roll around with a chainsword, but fuck it. Cool.
No longer a threat.
Fuck. Where did this zombie even come from? No, I didn't want to. I really didn't want to do that. Now I'm fucked.
Hostile neutralized.
And now.
Alright. So yeah, I'm playing the Inquisitorial Acolyte. Mert is playing a Field Chirurgeon, which is basically a field medic for the Imperial Guard.
The enemy chases my life.
I don't know what he's doing out here, but that's up for him to work out. Nice. And and Thomas is playing a tech priest. I think he's playing like a new initiate, I guess, of the Mechanicus. I don't think he has much augments, cybernetics of any kind at this point. And his character and his player probably don't know an incredible amount about the cult, the actual religion. But yeah, he'll learn as he goes. Be nice if we had another player or two. If anyone listening to this wants to get in on this campaign, we are playing on Roll20. We are looking for another player or two. Let me know. You do not have to know much about 40k at all, because most of the players don't. But if not, we'll still rock ahead with just the 3 players, three characters. Fuck! Get the fuck out of there. So that should start tomorrow. Can't imagine why it wouldn't. I don't know what anyone else is. I don't know what they would even be doing at this point in history. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I was really certainly excited about that Demon Lord campaign we were doing. It was very cool. I wish we could have seen it to the end. And seen if we could defeat the Opener of the Way and save the planet. But that's the way it goes. So, like I said, at least I am excited about this. 40k is a very cool setting.
Enemy destroyed.
I hope it encourages at least Ziggy and maybe the others to get more interested in 40k. Read some books. Read the wiki. I mean, it would take you like a year just to read everything on the wiki. So, but there's a lot of cool stuff. Alright, I guess that's about it.
We're through.
Venice 1-5, status confirmed. Be advised.
I guess that's about it.
Transports are inbound.
So check out more Doom Eternal. Starting on Metroid Prime 3 this week. SCP-5002 over on the other channel. And, of course, my video on April 1st, which you already know what it is. I didn't do anything special. Oh well. I think some people will still like it. It is bonkers. And to me, it's kind of funny. I mean, most of it. There is some questionable things in there because it is Lovecraft. I don't know how well those will go over in the comments. But I did look. I think it'll be the only full reading of Cats and Dogs on YouTube, which is pretty crazy. Maybe not many people know about it, but they're going to learn about it this week. So, that's that. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.